So what he's kind of describing is like finesse, you know, which is an important thing that action games sometimes can miss out on. It's like, that's a broad stroke of like the term, and I get it, but it's the same term that's used for fighting games. It's like this ability for the player to utilize systems in an extremely flashy or impressive way that is not inherently obvious. You acquire this ability with like understanding or over time or new mechanics or even hidden mechanics right through it to a certain degree. Most action games and a lot of fighting games nowadays, a lot of the finesse is lost because a lot of the interactions of the game are already decided, figured out how the game is going to work, and they have designed it accordingly. Where this is where your combos are, the combo routes that we have given you, and you can choose those combo routes, but at the same point, people will play a game like that and not feel like there's enough options. They feel like, oh, well, eventually I'm just doing the same few things over and over again. It's good that developers are aware that sometimes over-designing a game is not a good idea.
What he described it right now, that is Zenless. Back in July, before the release of the game, Zenless devs had a collaboration with the Street Fighter team, talking about game development and especially about what are fighting games, what is good, and the reward of combat. It is weird to think that if some people had watched this video before playing ZZZ, they might have a completely different approach to the game. Combat system was something that was heavily criticized since the beginning. It was a big talking point for some people who left the game on the early days. The game is too easy and simple. And I agree. The game can be extremely easy for many different reasons, but funnily enough, that was planned since the beginning. It was also noted by the game director.
我也看到很多玩家对于九曲零的一些评价，说，哎，好像有手就可以玩，很简单。那其实这个事情我自己感觉，其实它其实就是一个过程。
And maybe that's one thing where ZZZ might have overdone it a little bit. Zenless Zone Zero is a live service game. You can't show all your cards at the beginning, because the model made to evolve through time. But at the same time, the game is inside a genre that is targeted for hyper-casual players. So it was a mixed bag of conflicts.
核心玩法的体验，但是每个用户他的学习的时间还需要的时间长度，它都是不一样的。所以说我们去设计这条曲线的时候，它就尤为重要。对，但是我们一定会要想办法去让我们的新用户和老用户到最终都能体验到这个游戏的乐趣，这是我的想法。
ZZZ is an extremely easy game to pick up and understand. But just because something is easy doesn't mean it's shallow. Zuyuan is one character that is considered one-dimensional. You stun the boss, explode all your ammo, and done. But if you have Caesar, Astra, or Sun, Trigger, you can change her gameplay drastically. Suddenly, you see yourself doing quick stops with Nicole to debuff the enemy, dodging with Zuyuan to gain some ammo, and pairing with Caesar or Trigger to stun the enemy in the tight windows. Then, when you use an EX special and ultimate, you also need to account your ammo to not overcharge the bullets and lose damage in the process. If you are using Astra with Nicole, you might as well use all your assist points and your ultimate as soon as possible. So then, you can quickly recover assist points and decibels with chain attacks from Astra's ultimate, to compensate the lack of stunner. Doing the longer charge with Nicole would increase the size of the skill and would be faster to gather the enemies and trigger a chain attack for a quick swipe. Tapping a special attack to cancel the Billy rolling animation will increase the damage output. Using the manual chain attack can extend the stun duration and damage output you have. Doing a counter dodge and parrying at the same time will give you more decibels for everyone and also cause more daze damage. Astra Yal allows you to abuse Anton Quick Assist, who is the strongest to do that. Zenless Zone Zero is filled with gameplay mechanics that players is still finding every week, and with every new agent coming up in the game, widening the skill expression of gamers against the natural path of a gacha game. And that is beautiful. That's the core philosophy of a fighting game. Become stronger by learning techniques and how to surpass an obstacle. But still, a portion of players will refuse to learn or ignore those mechanics. Why will someone bother to learn all those minor things if you can clear all the content just fine by doing the basics.
前期如果一开始我就给了玩家一种感受，其实就是非常非常硬核这种游戏，前面我们不顾及玩家们的一些基础体验，我们就给他直接上强度了。那么可能他们很快就觉得，哎，我不适合这个游戏，要不我还不玩了吧？那我觉得这真的是一种很可惜的事情。所以说我会很刻意的去把一些前期、中期和后期的体验把它给拆开来看，然后玩到后期，我们也肯定也是希望那些喜爱玩动作游戏的玩家对于我们的战斗，对于我们后面的一些 BOSS 战的体验，就这个游戏玩起来它还是有一定的挑战性和难度的，这才是构成我们的一个核心玩法的体验。
Knowledge is power. Power is power. Gacha gamers tend to lean more into power is power definition, meaning that if they like a character, they better be strong from the get-go. But players who have a broad portfolio of games on their back lean more into knowledge is power. And that's the main conflict ZZZ will have to deal when it comes to combat and how they will evolve the endgame and approach different characters and players. The thing is that someone who has knowledge can sharpen a blade that is dull, but someone who only cares about power might need to pay for a sharper blade. Which is a big problem when the main issue you want to avoid in a gacha game is power creep, and the need of pulling new characters because the previous ones can't fulfill their duty. And that's why you should desire the power of knowledge, to be prepared for any obstacle. That's why you learn all those previous things that I mentioned about the game. And that's what I think is the main goal of Zenless when it comes to the combat, trying to bring the core in a fighting game to an audience who has a different mentality and approach to their game. To be fair, I think they are doing a good job, but it's kinda working for both parties who want a casual experience or a small taste of a fighting game. Combat in Zenless has depth, but it's not obvious and it's probably not needed when they give you tools to overcome hard challenges. But those who seek knowledge amongst the darkest days shall prevail, even in the treacherous nights. Nah, that was fire. I need to write this down. Sheesh. Imagine if I had Morgan Freeman voice. Whew. Oh my god.